4.5 years ago, we started a podcast in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of quarantine. And now, 4.5 years later,
Mhm.
200 episodes later, we have officially finished Lost, which is impressive considering that there's nowhere near 200 episodes of Lost.
We had to add, we added some stuff.
Yeah, we added some stuff. We had some fun. We did some movies. We did some other shows, but here we are. Finally, it's over. It's all over.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. What do we do now?
Oh no, if we were posting this like with thumbnails of us of our faces on YouTube,
Hmm.
it'd be our faces making like weird like like faces, and it would be like the end of Lost Legacies.
Right? Oh
No
man.
more show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 6 seasons, 100 and I don't know. It's like 120 episodes, something like that.
Yes, I think it's 127
No way.
or 21.
I think it might be 21 or like 120, something like that.
Okay. Yes, I
But
think
then
it's
also
121.
like could we've discussed this before in the past. Like the episode count is so off online. You have to
Yeah.
physically go count all the different episodes
Yeah.
because some of the two-parters are considered two episodes, some of the two-parters are considered just one giant episode. So it's all crazy. So
Hmm.
I think it's like 121 hours of Lost, something like
Mm.
that.
Okay.
So, but yeah, listeners, sorry this episode is a little late. I did get sick last week and I couldn't really talk. So we'll also see how it goes today. I'm feeling much better now, but we'll see how long that lasts. And yeah, this is kind of I don't know. I feel like this is kind of going to be a two-parter because we're going to be talking about the finale for sure, but then kind of just Lost in general. And then uh we're gonna I'll talk about it more towards the end of the episode, but we're gonna do more of kind of like a final look back on Lost. So
Mm.
consider this part one, but I guess we should do it officially. Here we are today talking about Lost season 6, episode 17,
Hmm.
The End, in which it all ends.
It all
It
ends.
all comes to this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, man, I don't even know where do we want to start?
So it's been over a week since we watched.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so I've had a lot of time to sit on it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of time to process it and think about it a lot. And I've made a decision. I've come to a decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It was
Okay.
good.
Okay. So what's because originally we were going to do this, but it just didn't work scheduling wise. We wanted to record ourselves like right after we watched it, kind of like a hot off the presses, like while all the emotions were still real and raw.
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't because I know when it ended, I just kind of wanted to sit in silence. I was just kind of like feeling it, you know.
Yeah,
So
that
so
was
I'm
me.
yeah, I'm glad we didn't do that. But were there any differences between that right after watching it and now like a week later?
I don't think so. I
Hmm.
think like if anything, it's just kind of like, because I remember I texted you and I was like, now that was a hell of a ride.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what I felt, and that's still what I feel right now. It's like I don't know that it was the strongest episode
Hmm.
of the series. And I really don't think that there's I think it'd be really hard to find like a series finale episode that is, you know, counted among like, oh yeah, great, greatest episode of the show is the end.
It's tough. I would probably say Star Trek Next Generation has a good one, but I
Yeah.
think the main difference is that Star Trek is episodic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that last episode has a beginning, a middle, and an end,
Hmm.
and uh, it just builds on that whole journey that you went on that 7 years with that crew. Whereas Lost is it's more serialized. So there's a beginning, middle, and end, but it's much different. Like you can't just watch this episode and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas something that's episodic like Star Trek, you could the Star Trek Next Gen finale, that could be the first episode of Star Trek you ever watch.
Mm.
And you're not really going to be lost. There might be a few things here and there you don't get, but for the
Yeah.
most part, like, because that's what episodic television is. So, but yeah, I mean, I totally agree. If I think about all the shows I've watched, I think it's just hard to pull off a finale. So it has more weight on its shoulders, eh, and it has to do so much more than a normal episode that it's kind of difficult for that last episode to be the best one of the whole show, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But we had a very similar conversation when we finished Dark.
Yeah, that's true.
Dark, the finale was a very kind of unexpected.
Hmm.
We were kind of expecting it to be this kind of big bang at the end, and it really wasn't. It was very much more down to earth, more about
Hmm.
the characters, and it's like, well, of course that makes sense because that's what this show's all about, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, so yeah, it's if you to sum it up, like the Lost finale kind of feels like everything we've been talking about so far in this final season. You have the on island stuff, which is good, but it's plot, and then you have all the real heavy character stuff is the sideways, the flash sideways,
Yeah.
you know. And then so when you look back and see like, okay, you could see the difference between the plot stuff and the character stuff. This episode really felt like it was time. It was just it feels more character driven than most of the season, and I think because it does tie in so well at the end. So
Hmm.
yeah, I nowhere near the best episode of the series, but I think it did a very good job of carrying the burden and the weight of what the Lost finale is supposed to be
Definitely.
without pandering and catering and answering all the questions, which I think at the time of it airing was kind of the expectation,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I was gonna say like, and you want to talk about, how much they didn't answer, questions.
Hmm.
They introduce whole new elements in this very episode, in this finale, that we don't get an explanation for, you know? Like the whole like Desmond going into the cave and then
Mm.
seeing like there's a whole like it's not a natural thing. Like there's like this well that was built and there are all these dead bodies around,
Hmm.
all these skeletons, and and then there's like the stopper right in the middle, and it's like, what is that? We don't know. We're never gonna know because this
Hmm.
that this is the end of Lost. They're not gonna take 10 minutes to explain. Oh, by the way, Jacob's ancestors are blah 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 blah.
Right.
And like I think this is interesting. I haven't really been like watching uh like Lost content in terms of like, oh, like here's everything about the show explained. Like I haven't really been watching stuff like that. But yesterday I did end up watching two Lost related things. One was the video essay that you talked about that you sent
Mm-hmm.
me. Like I watched that, and then the other one was from the podcast Beyond the Screenplay. They were breaking down the very first episode script of Lost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and it was really great. It was a really good episode. But those two things kind of made me realize like this was I don't think it was ever on the show. I don't think it was ever on the writers. Like it's a little bit on the writers, but uh it was mostly on the marketing because the marketing very blatantly and specifically if you go to IMDb right now and you go to Lost and you go to the page right above, they'll usually have a trailer for whatever it is you're about to watch. The
Mm-hmm.
trailer that they have is a trailer for the final season
Mm-hmm.
that blatantly and specifically says all the answers will be revealed.
Yeah.
It's like that no,
It has nothing to
like
do.
this was never the show for that. This
Yeah.
has never been the show for that. And I think it's this weird like fan osmosis that has, I think, like crafted this image of Lost as the show that never answered questions.
Mm-hmm.
And uh like it's like we've been saying this whole time. If that's what you're looking for in the show, then you don't get the point of the show.
Yeah.
I came away from this finale perfectly, perfectly satisfied. Not wholly because there were character arcs that I didn't agree with,
Mm-hmm.
and the way some things were handled that I didn't like, especially within this last season.
Mm-hmm.
But on the whole, it's kind of like, you know what? I think this is as good as it could have been,
Mm-hmm.
for the time, for the era, for the show itself. It's like if this was the finale that you guys really wanted, then I think you guys knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
You made me cry, which you've been doing for pretty much this whole season,
Mm-hmm.
the whole like back like 3 or 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I yeah, that's what I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about Lost was that it it kind of always was about the mystery from the beginning. And again, that's how they sold it, and that's how
Yeah.
all the fans were in it. I'm like, this is the show that, um, again, because we're going to touch on a lot of stuff we've been talking about this whole series. But again, this was kind of like one of the first shows that it had such an active online community.
Hmm.
Not that it was the very first, but like this got everyone. This wasn't a niche fan base. Like this was Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones. Everyone was watching it. And even people who didn't like sci-fi were watching Lost. People who didn't like fantasy were watching Lost. And then they're all of a sudden they realize they're watching this sci-fi fantasy show, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, and I think because of that, and because of the mysteries, especially of that first season, that's what kind of got people hooked, and they were all looking for answers. And realistically, Lost answers a lot of the questions,
Hmm.
but it's like it's all the little nitpicks here and there that didn't get answered. I
Yeah.
don't know what they're doing with the polar bears, but they're doing something. We know how
Yeah.
they got there.
Yeah.
So like I don't need to know, oh, they flew them by helicopter or they tranquilized them. I don't need to know that.
It's like
Point is, this is Dharma. They do whatever they want. Like,
who built the statue? Who built the statue that Richard Ship destroyed? It's like, I don't care. It's
yeah,
there,
yeah.
you
You see,
know?
if you want all the answers, then the Allison Janney episode is for you.
Yes.
Even though they
That's one
don't
of your top 10 for
even though they
sure.
don't answer almost anything,
Yeah.
and then what they do, you have two or three more questions afterwards. But
Hmm.
if you want answers, that episode is for you.
Hmm.
If you realize it's all just extra, then you could really. enjoy everything else because like we don't have to know who she was or where she came from. I want to know. I still want to know. But
Hmm.
it's like we don't have to. Like it doesn't really affect the story because obviously we didn't get it, you know?
Yeah.
So who built the statue? I don't know. It doesn't affect the story whatsoever.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about typical last season. Let's talk about the on island stuff first.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about this as a final episode? All the on island stuff.
You know, we started this show with uh we started this show with people walking into a jungle, and we're ending the show with people walking into a jungle. Um it it's so interesting because it kept feeling like, okay, we know that Locke and Jack are gonna have to fight at some point,
Hmm.
but it's like at every conceivable turn it's like, okay, and now we've got to help each other do this. Well,
Hmm.
okay then, it's like, okay, and now we've got to do this. It's like, what? Oh, no, we don't have to do anything. We just do this right now. Like what? Like what? Why?
Hmm.
Why? It's like it felt a little contrived how much time they had to spend together helping each other do something, and then, oh, okay, now it's time. Now we're gonna
I
fight.
wish they kind of got more into that because like I can agree and disagree with that because I mean we already know like they can't hurt each other, you know?
See, but that's the thing though. Like, I don't know that that was true. Specific. I mean, okay, this is a nitpick, and this is the only nitpick I'm going to allow myself. I don't think that's true because it was specifically Jacob and his brother couldn't hurt each other, and now that Jacob's dead, that doesn't matter. So I don't think that rule should have
Well,
applied.
well, that kind of throws everything a wrench into everything because like
Well, it's kind of like
what
the things that Jacob had control over, like fine, but I
yeah.
don't know, like it just felt kind
Like
of weird that
what are the
like,
man in black's motivations then? Because
yeah,
that's kind of the it's not really a twist, but the big reveal towards the end of the season, like he's just trying to kill them.
yeah,
And he's had so many opportunities and he's manipulating all of them. And I mean the bomb is the big like a big example of it. He's trying to get them to kill themselves,
yeah.
and it's like, yeah, like I don't think he could. You see, and that's something like I wish we could have had a little more explanation for because it's like I'm assuming it's just the candidates. So now that Kate's name is crossed off, she's fair game.
Yeah.
He could kill her if he wants. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I kind of I like the moment though when Jack tells him like we're gonna go down to the heart of the island and all that stuff, and I'm gonna kill you. It's like, oh
Mm,
crap. You see, I think Jack gets it. I think he knows he can't do it, you
mm,
know? Um, so yeah, once Desmond turns the thing off, that's where it's like, okay, it's free for all, man.
yeah,
And I love it when like Jack starts beating the crap out of him and he looks like surprised. He's like, oh crap. It's like,
yeah,
yep,
yeah.
island's off, baby. Oh man.
Islands off. Yeah, we unplugged it. We
Hmm.
unplugged it. The island's doing a hard reset now.
Frank's alive. Oh,
Of
thankfully.
course he's alive.
How's
How else
the
were they gonna get out?
Yeah, how's they gonna get out? Okay, so there is something. They I'm assuming it's online, you can find it, but you can read the scripts of Lost online.
Okay.
And there was I don't think it was ever filmed, but there is a moment where Richard and Miles are in the boat right before they find Frank,
Hmm.
and Miles can hear Saeed, Sun, and Jin underwater.
Oh
I'm like,
shit.
oh, dude. So I don't know if like they would have had to. Like, I don't know what he would have heard.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, because there's several times in this show where both him and Hurley, like, we don't actually hear what's said, you know?
Yeah.
but he conveys it later, or something like that. Or we could have actually heard the actors. Like I don't know what that would have been, but it says like Miles like has a little like panic attack or whatever because he realizes his friends are down, they're dead. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, that
Man.
would have been intense, man.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. So, but I'm glad Frank's alive. And Richard
Yeah.
as well. Richard's alive. I'm like, good man. This guy deserves he deserves a happy ending ish, And he's
Yeah.
apparently aging now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, cool, cool. That's nice.
Yeah. That's
Um,
nice. I did think that it was a little funny how like okay, Claire's still on this thing that nope, I'm not leaving the island, and then Kate's got to
yeah.
like, be like, "Hey, it's gonna be okay. It's hard." It's
Hmm.
like I like it was just the thing where it's like, "Claire, this is it. Like this is 0 hour,
Yeah.
I know everybody else has been gone. People just blew up all that stuff,
Yeah.
but like if you're gonna leave, it's now,
Yeah. I mean, she knew that. That's why she was gonna stay.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
know.
that's why like it was a nice scene between her and Kate, where she basically convinces her to get her ass on the damn plane.
Yeah.
So Claire's story arc this season was interesting. It wasn't bad. This a lot of the issues with this season just comes down to it being an ensemble show,
Mm.
because it's like, sure, I would have loved to spend more time and go more in depth with Claire's story, but at the same time, we got to get everything else. I would have loved for them to actually give Sun something to do and not just take her voice. But it's like, well,
Yeah.
we don't have time. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. It's like,
So
no, you're writing the show. You can make the time.
yeah, like I'm kind of curious, like what. Well, that's the thing. Like, what would you have left out? What would you have moved around? Things like that.
Hmm.
So I don't know. There's definitely storylines that could have been a lot better. I'm I'm kind of conflicted on this because I'm both. I don't like it and I do like it, but a couple episodes ago we lost Sun and Jin and we lost Saeed in the same
Yeah.
freaking episode. Even though we kept seeing them in the flash sideways, I like how minimal it was because it still feels like we still feel their death. Like it's not
Yeah.
like, oh, we still got them afterwards. It doesn't feel like that at all.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of like that. It is a bummer because like they're barely in the finale.
Hmm.
They have great scenes, but that's it. They have like one really good scene and then like a small scene, and then that's
Yeah.
it. And you're like, wow, that sucks. But at the same time, I think that kind of helps with the thing. Basically, just it's not cutting the audience any slack. Like, no, they're dead. They're out of our story.
Yeah.
If we spent too much time with them, it would kind of lessen the impact of their death, I feel like.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, all in all, the island stuff, it was cool. I liked it. Lost always works best when there's a timer.
Yeah.
If you think of the finales, uh, season one, they're trying to get into the hatch because they think the others are going to attack. We
Hmm.
got to move now. Season two, there was no timer. And I,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of
It
why
really
it was
felt
kind of
like drawn
weird.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, the timer was literally in the hatch. Desmond had to blow the thing up. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, season three. What is it? Oh yeah, they're trying to get to the radar, the radio tower, and all this stuff. And it's like, okay,
Hmm.
things are counting down. They're trying to go down to the underwater radio station as well, the radio
Yeah.
sub thing. So it's like, okay, clock is ticking. Everyone's moving together. We're leaving, guys. We're leaving.
Hmm.
You know, season four, they finally get there. They're like, okay, we gotta go. So it's like there was always like a countdown.
Yeah.
Um, and then season five, we gotta blow up. Not the hatch, but like what's under it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like okay, so there's always like the show does a really good job at escalation towards the end of the season that you just feel it. And like this episode, It's the same. They're like the
Yeah.
island's literally falling apart around them. Frank's fixing the plane. We gotta go now, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, dude, like so
Trees are
exciting.
falling on top of people.
I know.
The same like 10 big ass gray rocks are falling on people.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's yeah, and everybody's running and there's a like constant earthquake. It's great. Yeah.
yeah. Oh man. Uh so good. Let's talk about that final fight on the cliffs.
Like brutal. Brutal.
Yeah.
Jack straight up like jumps like jumps to like punch Locke.
Yeah, man.
Like
I was like,
holy
dude.
shit.
Uh
Yeah, scary, terrifying place for a fight. I was so scared that Jack was gonna fall and die. It's
right?
like, no, it's slippery.
Yeah.
It's slippery,
Yeah.
Jack. Don't do that.
It's cool though that we see Jack is getting his injuries that he has in the Flash Sideways. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay, because we saw it this episode, and then I think a little an episode or two ago where he has like the blood on his neck. He's like,
Hmm.
what is that? And then earlier in the season, he sees that he's bleeding like on his stomach, and he's like,
Yeah.
that's the one with his mom. He asked her, when did I have my appendix removed? You know,
Hmm.
and then they never go back to it at all. So like they planted that like 10
Early.
episodes ago. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's good. So. What do you think about Kate being the one to get the killing shot?
Uh, you know, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it is just a little weird because it's like I if that was going to be the case, if it was going to be a team effort, then I wanted more of a team. You
right.
know,
Yeah.
want like you can like not to say that like this needs to be like Power Rangers, and like
Hmm.
it's got to be five against one baddie. It's like
Hmm.
no, like but this is like this is the biggest villain of the series. This
Yeah.
is supposed to be the big bad of it all.
Yeah.
And as great as the fight is, it's also over pretty quick.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know and yeah, and then yeah, like Kate, like I guess like it technically makes sense because Jack was already dying.
Yeah.
I don't think Jack could have finished him off.
Right.
So to have Kate do it, it's like, okay, we gave her that. That was a little callback, from earlier, save a
Hmm.
bullet. Like, yeah, I saved you a bullet. It's like, all
Yeah.
right. And she out of everybody on the island, she is a murderer. So
Yeah. I just, I don't know.
it did kind of feel a little
If you look at
I
the whole series, like she really has no relationship with Locke. Like,
yeah,
so it kind of feels weird that she's the one. Technically, Jack still kills him because he kicks him off the thing. But like, I don't know, like it just kind of felt like let's give Kate something to do. Because it's a twist. We think they're
yeah,
trying to get back to the other island, and then Locke's about to kill Jack, and boom, he gets shot in the back, and it's Kate with the rifle. You're like,
yeah,
oh, okay. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be like she went back for Jack. She'll always go back for Jack. And I'm
yeah,
like, okay, I guess. It just feels weird that she's technically the one who beat Locke, you know?
yeah.
I feel like that should have been on Jack. But also, I like the idea that Jack couldn't do it on his own. I
Hmm.
do like that as well. Um, so I don't know. I don't know how I would have done it differently. The only other person when you think about relationships with Locke, I said maybe like if it was Ben, but you don't really want to see Ben beat Locke, even if it's this evil version,
Yeah,
So
yeah. Because it's like we already got that. Ben already strangled the real John
yeah,
Locke. So I don't want to
yeah,
see Ben, I don't know, stab or shoot or even blow up, evil Locke.
yeah.
You know.
Hmm. I don't know.
Yeah.
Should have been Sawyer. And he's like, I kill you just like I killed your daddy.
Da-da-da.
Um,
It should, what it should have been? It should have been like it should have been like the movie Ghost, where like all of the spirits now are coming up, rising up, and they all start like pulling at Evil Locke, and they all pull him down into hell.
It should have been Hurley, and he's the one who fires the gun. He cocks it or whatever. Or it's not. It's a rifle. You don't really cock it, but you hear the
Yeah.
click. And Locke turns and sees him. He's like, "Hugo, you're not a killer. You're not gonna do this." And he just you see him turn and like talk to something. He's like, "Who are you talking to?" Jacob. What's Jacob have to say? It's been revoked. Whoosh, and then he shoots Locke off the cliff. Yeah,
I
that's how
do
I would
like,
have done it.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. No, I would have done it. Ben secretly had a rocket launcher in his back, and Hurley points it at Locke, and he says like, "It's you. You are the Rocket Man," and
Oh
fires it
God.
off.
Oh, so dumb.
uh,
Ah,
I do like that. I do like that. Like Jack kicks Evil Locke, and then he like just like slams into that like smaller cliffside. It's
yeah,
like, man, even in death, you're not getting off this island.
yeah,
You're that close away from the water, and nope, you're still here.
yeah, yeah. I don't know, like how, like I'm trying to think how would it like he slams and he hits the thing. He's like, "Ugh," and he tries to get up or whatever, and then he realizes he can't feel his feet. And then the water like washes. So I wouldn't have it like on the cliff, but I'd have it just like at the bottom. Like there's a little, like maybe a ledge where the water can pool up into it. So he
Hmm.
realizes that he can't feel his legs like Locke, and now he's trapped there, and the water drowns him. Not
Ooh.
enough to pull him out to sea, but it drowns him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's in like a little pool, slowly slipping in, and then
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I love that. That's cool. Yeah,
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 yeah. So, next time we'll get him next time.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then they roll a giant boulder on top of it, and then yeah.
yeah. Man. Um,
Uh, crazy. Crazy that both Jacob and Jack pulled the old switcheroo and said, "It's never gonna be me. It's always gonna be you, Hugo."
yeah,
And I'm like, man, yeah, it makes the most sense.
yeah, yeah,
Like it truly does. Like because looking back at it, it's like again, like if we had to have a main character of the show, it was Jack. But none of Jack's stuff, like, even with this whole arc of him like finally coming around to belief and
hmm
having faith, um, even that I feel like, it doesn't necessarily fit. Be Yeah, yeah. It just it doesn't fit, and like it's like, okay, yeah, like I'm glad that it is Hurley who
yeah,
does it, because out of everybody else, I feel like, yeah, he's the one who does make the most sense.
right. It's like
He's
Jack
been,
was needed to save the island. Like
yeah,
he's the one who didn't believe in any of this stuff. He's the one who had to save it,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But now Hurley has to take care of it.
yeah, take care of it.
Mm.
And he doesn't have to do it the way Jacob did. I'm glad Ben is there, and I'm glad Ben says that. It's like,
Yeah.
that was Jacob's way. You don't
Hmm.
have to do it his way. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, man, because I also feel like Jacob's way was wrong.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's what really kind of sells this whole thing. We've been talking about Jacob this whole time. I don't think they ever tried to make it seem like he was a good guy. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, uh it was just disappointing in the way he was portrayed after such a buildup.
Hmm.
Um, but now when you think about Hurley doing it, you're like, that makes total sense. Of course, he's the kind one. He's the one who loves. He'll be the one to protect this place and its people.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah. And he has Ben to be, to help him, and he's like, okay. I'm like, man, how far we've come.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, yeah, I loved it. I love it that they got off the island, that little old plane, man. It made it off. It's like,
Somehow.
yeah.
Duct tape and grit.
Yeah. And let's talk about Jack's last moments.
Now, here's the thing. I this was also the this was the last death I knew about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I knew how it ended.
yeah.
And I don't necessarily remember if I like peeked in the living room while you were watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do vividly remember like them cutting back to Jack in the bamboo and then
Mm,
Vincent, running up to him. Man, Vincent ran up. I'm like, I'm already in tears. Like Vincent runs
yeah.
up to him and I'm just like, I'm bawling now. I'm like, this
Yeah.
man. And I was thinking about what you had said a while back. Uh, I don't even know if we've said it on the podcast. This might have just been something you said to me years ago. Um, but you told me that the writers said that nobody in the show dies alone.
Really?
Yeah,
Did I say that?
yeah.
Wow, I don't remember.
And it's like technically it's true, because it's like if they're either they're either the victim of a crime, they're either the victim of something terrible happening to them, you know,
Hmm.
or there's somebody else who's watching it happen, you know?
Hmm.
Like Locke is there with Boone. Michael kills both Libby and Ana Lucia,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know.
it's interesting because like Echo was technically with the smoke monster. I mean, I guess you could
But
count
wasn't
that.
Echo, but Echo was with somebody else though, right? I thought somebody else was like following him or like following along.
I don't know. I know Locke finds him, right? But I don't know if like he's there for his last moments or what.
Okay.
I don't remember. But then when Michael dies, he's just on the boat holding the
That's
trigger.
true.
Like,
Yeah. I think Michael might be the only one then.
I mean, I guess like I'd really have to go like a deep dive, like trying to think, like when they say everyone, do they just mean like our main characters, the
Mhm.
survivors,
Which then would technically also include Michael, but you know.
Yeah. Saeed was technically on his own in the back of the boat. That was
I'm
his whole point of running back there. Like, I don't know. It kind of I would need to listen to the creators talk about that to
yeah,
remember what they said or how
yeah.
the context.
Well, all that to say, that like, yes, I'm glad that Jack didn't leave this world, you know, by himself. I'm
Yeah.
glad that Vincent was there with him.
Especially because he was the one saying that we have to live together,
Hmm.
or die alone, and he doesn't die alone. I'm like, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's the kind of thing that like I feel like a novice or amateur writer would like write that and then be like, and then Jack, he dies alone. It's like, well, that sucks, but it's like, no, like you have Vincent show up and it's like, I love that. I
Well,
love that Vincent's there,
it's one of those like you say amateur writer, and I kind of think of like it could be, but it could also be. Uh, it depends more on how good of a writer you are, because I think the idea of just like, oh, the show literally starts with Jack waking up in the forest with the dog. Like that's how we're gonna end it. That just seems like that doesn't really seem. It's not that it's bad writing, but there's nothing really great about that either. It's just like okay, it's a full circle kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then it's you as a writer who basically either makes it to quote the kids, either makes it cringe or makes it beautiful. You
Mhm.
know, um, the dragon knows that the true evil was the Iron Throne the whole time.
Oh God. Yeah.
Thematically, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
But the way it's done in the show, it's just like, all right, this is dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so yeah, it could go either way. And I think Lost really, really pulls it off, with having Jack at the end there and then Vincent showing up, and the last thing he sees is the plane flying off. So he knows they got off, they got
Yeah.
off the island. Um, yeah. So that was awesome. Let's hop into the Flash Sideways, which we never really called it that this whole time. We've been calling it the alternate timeline.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they mentioned this in that essay or if I read it somewhere else. But Carlton Cuse was basically saying the whole reason why they called it the Flash Sideways is because they didn't want to call it an alternate timeline because they didn't want people thinking it wasn't real.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. So it
Yeah.
was real. All of it happened.
Yes. Yes.
So let's talk about the Flash Sideways. Um, it's in a lot of ways it's kind of the same. It wasn't the best uh as it has been because like it's been such a strong. The Flash Sideways has really been carrying this season,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I feel like this episode though we kind of already went through all the arcs and the big emotions, and now it's just kind of getting everyone together in the right place.
Yeah.
Like Desmond really takes a step back. You know, he's kind of been leading the charge these last couple episodes, but like he's
Mhm.
just kind of just there now, you know?
Yeah. And it's yeah, it is a thing where it's like, we're sort of sacrificing like any sort of it feels mean to say like character development, but that's kind of the way it feels.
Yeah.
It's like we're sacrificing any more nuance that we could get to the plot, to get to the end.
Yeah.
So like it's like, yeah, it does feel a little weird, like, oh hey, like how are we gonna get Sawyer to the church? It's like, oh
Hmm.
well, let's, go this way. Uh
And they don't even show it. They don't even
yeah,
show it. It's just like they just know now. And I mean, it kind of makes sense because at this point it would just feel repetitive. Like, okay, we know what's going on. We know how this works.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. And so like in that way, it's like, yeah, I feel very forgiving of it.
so like so
Especially,
I was gonna say like
oh,
Sawyer running into Juliet, that was perfect because
yeah.
it wasn't even drawn out. Like they're attracted to each other and they know it and they feel that
Mm-hmm.
familiarity, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, oh, it's like we're back. You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I love that so much.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like I feel like we didn't we didn't get to have any goodbyes except for like Jack, you know?
Yeah,
And I guess well, no, not even. I was gonna say like Rose and Bernard, but like they didn't even get a goodbye, like on because they're
no,
still on the island,
it's all
you
in the
know.
church. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything was in the church, but it was like this was this is this is the thing that I love about shows like this where it's like we can bring back everyone. We can bring back everybody just for this last episode,
just the fact
just
that
to
they
say
did that
goodbye.
was incredible.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, like
um,
having Juliet show up and then having her with Sawyer, having
mhm,
Saeed have to save Shannon, like
mhm,
outside of a bar, and then them connecting. It's like, and then Boone's there for a hot second, and I'm just like,
mhm.
man, this is
To have them all in the church at
man.
the end
hmm
was
It was worth it.
something, you know?
Yeah,
It was.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
wow.
and that's kind of what I think. Like, I know there are like other pieces to talk about, but it's like Jack getting to the church and not like not even like being like in the group at first, just Jack getting to the church and then getting to have a conversation with his dad,
Hmm.
and again, like we haven't seen his dad for almost a whole season, I think.
Yeah.
uh and hearing his voice, I'm like, oh, that's Christian, and then he sees him, he's there, and it's such a beautiful moment because for this Jack, he's getting to see his dad again, you
Hmm.
know? And it isn't until their conversation keeps going that we start to get back our Jack and his dad. And then when they hug, it's like this is a hug that has been in the making since the first episode.
Yeah.
Since the start of it, since we found out why Jack was in Australia to begin with.
Hmm.
And like it's this beautiful, beautiful moment. And I'm like, I don't give a shit about Jacob. I don't give a shit about,
Right.
the polar bears. Like, I don't care
Hmm.
about any of that anymore. This is the freaking show, man. This is
Yeah.
the show. The show is always about people being placed in a situation and finding their way together.
Hmm.
That's what Lost is. And for them to them, I love it too. Like, I don't know if it was intentional or not, and maybe I'm reading into it, but even them sitting in the pews felt like them sitting in a plane.
Yeah.
And then like as the
Yeah.
lights are coming through the window, it's sort of like this kind of feels like an airplane. Christians walking into the back, kind
Hmm.
of like a pilot, but also like, one of the stewards,
Hmm.
and then opening the door, it's like, and here we go. And it's like, man, this is it's it's so beautiful. It's so freaking
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh,
I loved it. The
I didn't think I was gonna.
non-denominational church, I love it. Like all of it, you know?
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Oh
I'm
man.
sorry. I'm getting teary. I'm getting teary now.
I also I love how Jack and Kate's like revelation, their moments had nothing to do with each other. And I like that. I like that Jack's revolved around him and his dad because that's
Yeah,
been his story the whole time. And I
yeah.
like how Kate's had to deal with both her and
Claire.
Aaron and Claire.
Hmm.
You know, I was like, okay, all right. And same thing with Charlie. It wasn't just Claire, it was Claire and Aaron, you know?
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, I like that, you know?
yeah.
Um, I just gotta say, Faraday playing piano with drive shaft, this is horrible, dude. I'm like,
It was
what?
pretty
I'm
bad.
like, what music is this? Like,
It's like,
what
man, like
the like
why
jazz
couldn't
fusion, maybe? Like, I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
don't. And again, like just seeing Faraday in the hat and remembering that he's a musician, I'm like,
I think most importantly, he's a rich kid, and that's what we got to remember. This is what happens when you got too much money. The rich
yeah.
kid thinks he can play with this rock band. You know, I'm like,
Oh
oh my God. I like that
God,
he did
yeah.
get to meet what's her
Charlotte.
name? Charlotte in this episode. So even
Yeah.
though they're not together,
They've at
it's
least
open.
met. Yeah.
Yeah, they're there in the world, you know. And then Miles, we didn't really get to say goodbye to Miles. Um, And it is interesting who's in the church because it's mainly our main cast, you know. Plus you got Penny and Desmond are there.
Hmm.
You have Rose and Bernard are there, right? They're in the
Yeah.
church. Yeah, they're in the
Yeah.
church.
I I was kind of shocked that Rose and Bernard were there actually, mostly just because uh like like Rose straight up says to Desmond, it's like, hey, once you're rested, you got to get out of here. We said
Yeah,
we weren't
yeah,
gonna get involved.
yeah,
We didn't want to get involved with any of this.
yeah.
And then nope, they're there at the church at the end. I'm like,
But
all right,
still, you know,
it's like, hey, I'm like, don't get me wrong, I am very glad they're there.
they're
I just
they're
thought it
they're
was funny.
they're, they're still part of them. You know, they're family in a way.
I was,
And also they're still alive. So
yeah,
like. Hurley's in charge now. Evil's gone. Like, who knows? They probably start a whole little community.
right.
You know, Hurley, the whoever survived of the others, Rose and Bernard. I'm hoping the
Mhm.
little kids are still alive, unless they got blown up.
Man, we never found out, did we?
Mm-mm.
We never found out about those kids.
Yeah.
Man.
So again,
Oh,
in the original script, Frank was supposed to be in the church, but
oh, really?
yeah, he wasn't. So like, that's interesting. I kind of feel like Frank wouldn't be. He's just like he would be like what you're saying, Rose and Bernard. You're like, yeah, this is a crazy time in my life.
Yeah.
Glad that's over.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like glad I never got to think about this again.
Yeah.
Um,
Ben stayed
yeah.
outside, which I liked.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I did
okay.
too.
Um,
Especially like it was such a somber moment, and to like see
yeah.
this character, you know, that yeah, like this is crazy. Like it reminds me there's a moment in Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's All-Star Superman.
Hmm.
which the whole conceit of the of All-Star Superman is that Superman's dying,
Hmm.
and these like last issues, like these 12 issues are sort of like the 12 labors of Superman, like his final acts to the world.
Mm.
And of course, one of the last issues, he fights Lex.
Hmm.
Lex gains superpowers and Lex fights and they're fighting. Superman is weakened, it's all these things. And it isn't until the very last moment before Superman goes away, Lex, something switches inside Lex. Like he's able to see it. It's like within him gaining all of Superman's powers, he gains sight. Like, this is how
Mm.
he sees the world.
Mm.
This is what it's like for him all the time. And it's this kind of really beautiful revelation where, like, this Lex Luthor, his arch nemesis, his villain, like, he changes. He's like, he
Mm.
finally has everything Superman has. And of course, he becomes a good person. Because why
Wow.
would somebody with Superman's powers be anything but a good person?
Yeah.
And like it's such a great moment. It's so beautiful. It ends with a small joke, and I'm like, that's like I love it. It's a great comic. That's that like, but the reverence is sort of what I felt from Ben sitting outside that church where he's like, in a way, he's like reflecting on all of the things that he's done on his
Yeah.
entire life. Every person he's killed, every terrible decision he's made, and yet he is allowed he is allowed to be not even within the church, he's allowed to be outside, beside the steps of this church in this other world. You
Hmm.
know, like I love that Christian says that like the entire point of this place was so everyone could meet up.
Hmm.
At, like all of you at whatever points in your life that it ends, you all meet up here
Hmm.
because you're all going to the same place together. And I love that Ben is outside of that saying that I don't think I'm ready for that,
Hmm.
but I just want to stay here a while. And it's like, man, like it's such a like oh, and that he gets to say it to the real Locke. We finally get the
Yeah.
real Locke back, for
Yeah.
like 2 minutes. And they get to say goodbye to each other. And it's like, man,
Hmm.
this oh God, the freaking show, man. It's so good.
Hmm. And I like how it's Hurley's the one who comes out at the end and says,
Mm-hmm.
"Aren't you coming in?" And that's when he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "No, I don't think so."
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow.
It's like you were a heck of a number two. You were a terrific number one.
Yeah.
It's like, oh
Man.
man, this sniveling little weasel of a man who's
Yeah.
done all these terrible things. It's like that's the thing. That's the thing that I think like I know it's a huge thing. It's such a huge thing in media and literature, and, like across, all these things where it's like we talk about redemption arcs, like villain
Hmm.
redemption arcs. And it tends like it gets weird and it's like this whole process, and all these things. And I know that there are people like I know that there are people that are like upset that like or they'll try to like logic or actually it's just like whoa, like does Darth Vader really like killing the Emperor, like does that really justify all the other stuff that happened? Like does that already does
Hmm.
that justify, like should he be redeemed? Is that a redeemable moment that,
Hmm.
gets to come back as a Force Jedi, all that stuff? And it's like, but like guys, you're getting caught up in like yes, like it's good to think about that in terms of real people. These are characters.
Hmm.
Yes, they exist as real people in their story world, but at the end of the day, they are still characters. This is the end of their story, and it's up to you as the person to decide whether or not they deserve redemption.
Hmm.
And in my mind, for both Darth Vader and for Benjamin Linus, they get to be redeemed at all is far greater in ending than anything else.
Hmm.
you know, because I think that's the point. It's like they don't deserve redemption. and yet they are redeemed.
Hmm.
That that to me, I think both characters get to face that head on and they get
Yeah.
to see that, and that's how we get to have this beautiful moment with Ben outside the church, like
It's
in
a
awe.
very it's that whole conversation is a very philosophical one, and it's a very
Hmm.
philosophical, spiritual, and holy answer. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, they don't deserve it, but they still get it, you
exactly.
know?
Exactly.
And the way Superman and Lois ends, spoiler alert for Superman and Lois, I know it's a very fresh finale still.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but Superman sees Lex like essentially he's not in the afterlife yet, but he's Superman is walking through his house and he's seen all his family and his grandkids and all this stuff. And then at the table, he sees Lex Luthor just crying, and
Hmm.
he's talking about he's like part of leaving this world and moving on is forgiveness.
Yeah,
So Clark just sits next to him and he like holds his arm and then he walks off. And
yeah,
Lex is just still there, just crying at the table. And it's like, yeah, because
yeah,
this isn't the Luther who changes, who realizes what's happened until it's too late, you
yeah.
know? And I was like, man, I mean, I like that a lot.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. God, the show, it was always science versus faith. So I like how there was a very spiritual ending to it,
Yeah, yeah, I do
without
too.
going too over the top or too specific in a certain religion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's not
Um,
like, hey, we're all going to heaven now. It's like, no, like you're all going wherever it is you're going, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's just like we're all going to the same place, whatever that is.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, I really like that. Michael and Walt weren't there because I'm pretty sure Walt had a long life. If things more important happened to him,
yeah.
and
I, I,
Michael still had his thing. I'm assuming he got to leave the island, but he had his own things to deal with. So
yeah. I will say that it does kind of suck though, like just like I feel like from an actor standpoint, it's like you were one of
right,
the co-leads. You were
yeah,
one of the stars. You were one of the characters that were written specifically by the writers to be in this show.
yeah, yeah,
And it sucks that, you kind of don't really get to share in that end, you
yeah.
know?
I, I
Especially when other characters like, yeah, it's great that like Shannon and Libby and Boone, like they
yeah.
all get to show up again, even just to be in the finale. It's like, yeah, like it does kind of suck, but
I
I do get it.
yeah, I mean, total. That's a very behind the scenes take on it, and like, yeah, that does suck. I can feel that, but from like a in universe a story kind of take, I'm like, I like it because there's no one in that church who I feel um, like we were just talking about, doesn't deserve it.
Yeah,
The one person who doesn't deserve it is still on the outside.
yeah,
you know, Even though he has a chance of redemption, and stuff like that. But also like it would just be I think it's kind of be shocking too just to see Michael there and then Libby's like, "Hey, it was all good,"
yeah, that's
like
true. You
yeah,
know,
I like how, Christian even says y'all made this place to find each other.
Mhm.
I don't think Michael would try to find that.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
probably not.
yeah, so I don't know.
Especially too because like Michael hasn't been part of any of this. We haven't even really
Right.
seen him or Walt,
And on
so
top of that,
yeah,
he probably still feels extremely guilty. And
yeah.
now that the show's over and we can finally say, okay, yeah, this is the afterlife or like a purgatory,
Hmm.
um, now we can actually really talk about it because I kept bringing it up and I kept talking about it without actually saying it was purgatory. But like this whole Flash Sideways was of their own creation, and you got to
Yeah,
get into the mental side of that. I was just thinking about, today, like Ben murdered everyone, including his father, in this side alternate timeline, in this Flash Sideways. He's has to take care of his father, you know?
Hmm.
And now that he's older, I'm like, oh wow, that's interesting. But there's still connections so he can find his stepdaughter Alex, you
Yeah.
know? And then the fact that Russo's there just kind of like adds another layer, like, whoa, you
Yeah.
know? Locke, his whole thing with his father, you know, just like a lot of children who are abandoned or hurt by their parents, they think it's their fault. So
Hmm.
Locke creates this afterlife where it's literally his fault why his dad is in this state, you
Hmm.
know? So like all the characters, all their realities were of their own doing. And this whole time I kept asking too, I'm like, are we ever going to find out what Kate's doing? Because like she had her episode with Claire, and then we see her get arrested and she talks to Sawyer a little bit, but we never see Kate's like story in this Flash Sideways. She just keeps
Hmm.
saying she's like, I didn't do it. I didn't kill him. I'm like, oh shit. Well, because in real life, Kate murdered her mom's boyfriend to protect them, to protect herself, to protect her mom. So Kate feels absolutely zero guilt over it. So she
Yeah.
creates this world where she's framed. She's
Yeah.
unjustly framed for murder. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that actually. I was like, okay, wow, okay, perfect. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jack creates a world where he has a kid with Juliet and then they separate.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And where he is, turning into his own father.
kind of. Yeah, 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 yeah. And then he's
Yeah.
able to pull himself out of it because of his kid, you know?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I like how Jack's the last one to turn and, you know, because
Hmm.
he's the man of science and he this whole episode he feels like he's going insane, you
Hmm.
know? Like, oh man, it was such beautiful moments, beautiful story. I'm like, all
Hmm.
all all the crap we've given this show, and you know, it's definitely had its ups and downs. Like this ending really makes it worth it.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to bring up about this final episode. I didn't
Uh,
realize we were going to talk so much about this last episode, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense because
yeah,
it was
yeah,
good and
man.
there was a lot that happened, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm
You know,
curious
it
about
was,
Richard.
yeah. You're curious about Richard?
Yeah, why wasn't he in the church with his wife?
Because he wasn't part of that, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Like
You know, I
I
mean, it's kind of the same as like Miles and Frank. It's like I get why they're not there,
yeah.
and it's like Richard is just you know, no tea, no shade. He's a means to an end,
Richard,
for
this
all of
was
it.
a very significant blip in his timeline, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I wonder what they all did once they got back, you know,
yeah,
because this is the second time a group of survivors from Oceanic Flight 815 returned. And what happens when the first one goes missing? Oh
yeah,
God, this flight went missing. Several members, like all the survivors from Oceanic were on this flight. What is
yeah,
happening? Like
yeah.
I like that we don't get the answer because who knows? Like
It, yeah,
it's just crazy to imagine, you know?
like it's great to think about it. It's great to ponder over, but like truly, who cares?
Who cares, right?
Like,
Yeah.
because I was thinking about that. I was like, man, like I'm really glad Sawyer got off the island. And in my mind, I was like, oh, that's right. He has a daughter.
Yeah.
Is he gonna try and go be like a dad to his daughter? But
Clementine.
but the her mother doesn't want anything to do with him. So how's that gonna work? And then I'm like, Tim, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. He
Doesn't matter.
killed the guy who wasn't even the right guy
Yeah.
because Robert Patrick set him up to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still waiting for him. Like, man,
Mm-hmm. Maybe. I mean, Robert Patrick's dead, so and also it's
he's dead?
been isn't Robert Patrick dead?
No?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought I confused Robert Patrick's character with uh
Anthony
the
Cooper.
no the what's his name? The Kate's Marshall.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I got
No.
them
Yeah,
confused.
Robert
Sorry.
Patrick was just that one scene.
That's
But yeah,
right.
so all that's waiting for him. But like also Claire's crazy now, so I don't know. She's gonna have to go to a lot of therapy, to
Hmm.
be with her
Hmm.
kid. Uh,
Also, you got to think about this was a whole other flight full of people and multiple, like most of they're all dead.
yeah,
They all died. They all
yeah,
died on the island.
yeah. They're gonna be like,
Except,
what happened?
yeah, yeah.
So we never see what happens with Desmond. Desmond's still passed out at the end. So
Well, yeah, he's still passed out, but I think isn't it Ben who says that like tells Hurley like maybe you can find him a way off the island,
yeah, because that's when he's
and
like, I thought we couldn't leave. He's like, that was Jacob's rules. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm assuming he gets back to Penny, but I'm like, Penny's rich, and I guess she's in charge of Widmore Company now.
Oh
Unless,
yeah.
well, not
That
necessarily, but
oh, probably.
well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, probably not because she had no relationship with her father, so he probably it goes to the shareholders now.
Hey
But
man, it could be in a will somewhere.
maybe, I mean, we have no evidence to support that, so like, who knows? I'm trying to think like how they would cover it up, because they were able
Yeah.
to very carefully cover up the first crash and explain how the survivors made it out. Like, what
Hmm.
about now? Because, like, if anyone's gonna, because the whole thing was like they would try and kill them. That's why they have to
Yeah.
make the fake story of they survived somehow.
Yeah.
But now, like, Widmore's gone. So who's running, Widmore's company? Like,
True.
I don't really think there's gonna be anyone around who really understands what's happening. Like, I'm like, it's just gonna be a
Yeah.
free for all. Like, it's gonna be the most popular conspiracy theory of like all time because you
Hmm.
actually have physical evidence.
Yeah.
Like that is wild. Think of the movie they make. Someone's gonna make the movie, and I'm
Hmm.
like, oh wow. Yeah, man. Like, what does Richard do when he leaves the island? It's like, well, I'm gonna start a life in Los Angeles now. Like,
Right? Maybe I'll become an actor.
yeah,
But he's
damn.
aging, so. I was worried that like once he got the gray hair, I
It
was
would just
worried
keep
that it was gonna
going.
be like a rapid aging. He's in the
Yeah,
he's in the boat and he's trying to paddle, but he's just an old man now.
yeah, yeah,
It's like, oh, that would suck.
yeah.
Uh Real Dorian Gray moment. Yeah. Oh, truly though, I feel like everybody's lives just got a hell of a lot harder now that
Yeah.
they've left the island for the second time.
Yeah. And I
Um,
mean, technically, Hurley's in charge, so I'm assuming he can go back and he's still rich.
yeah,
And Penny's still rich. So it's like, you know,
yeah. I think they'll be fine. You know, yeah.
and I
There's definitely
guess
gonna be, yeah, people like trying to hunt them and being like, what really
yeah.
happened? Blah
I
blah
guess
blah. It's
Son's company probably goes back to her dad. I don't know how that
ooh,
would work.
yeah,
Unless she just like left him out of everything.
yeah,
All in all, I loved it. It was a great episode, a great end to a great show.
yeah.
Listeners, let us know what you thought. Hit us up on all the socials, hashtag Lost Legacies. Let us know what you thought. Uh, let us know what you thought if this is your first time watching it. Let us
Mm-hmm.
know what you thought if this isn't, because I want to see the difference. What did you originally think, and how do you feel about it now?
Mm-hmm.
Let us know.
Speaking of, uh, this was my first time watching, but this is your like second time finishing the whole thing,
Mhm.
you know? So what are your thoughts on
It was good.
that? Okay, cool.
No, I mean, yeah, like I was nervous because we had a lot of issues with this season. And I was
Yeah,
kind of nervous that I wouldn't love the ending the way I originally did because I loved it when I watched it 15 years ago.
yeah,
Um, but no, like it's kind of like what I was saying, you know what? I'm loving all the Flash Sideways stuff so much. I think I'm gonna be fine with it. Also, because just like the way it is, like it's not an alternate timeline. That's like officially how it ends. All of that stuff
yeah,
happens last. So I think like that just helps it even more. It doesn't really matter how much we loved or hated the on island stuff this season. We know that we loved the end, not just the last episode, but the quote unquote purgatory. We loved all of that stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah, so yeah, no real complaints. I had a blast. I loved it. Um, it really, because this whole time I was watching, like, man, there's a lot of ups and downs with the show. I don't know if it's still going to be my favorite or not. And I still don't, but like, now that it's done, like, totally redeemed itself. And I'm like, it was worth the down times, you know?
For sure.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. I could even just argue that it's a better finale than Dark was. And I loved the Dark ending,
Mm.
but we both kind of talked about how, we did have some issues with it. Whereas this with Lost, um, as much as we had issues with the whole season, I don't really have issues with the finale.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of mine were just, kind of like small gripes or nitpicks. Like other
Yeah,
than that, it's like no, like this was it was a very good episode and I think a
yeah,
very good series finale,
yeah.
you know.
And also we didn't bring this up, but in that video essay, it explains how the end credits of Lost of this final episode, it's just no music, it's just footage of the crash from
Oh
when the
yeah.
plane first went down. And at ABC, they're like, yeah, let's just end it like that, which was it was kind of nice moment.
I really liked it. Like I thought like
So did I.
I know what yeah, I know what's coming next, but for me I'm
Yeah,
like it's such a beautiful moment because it's like look at all this. It's
yeah,
like it's less of like a look at where we started or where we've come from, but like
yeah,
man, yeah, it did like it started here. This is and all of that is still there, and it's
yeah,
like this happened. That I think that's my takeaway. It's like this happened. This
yeah.
really happened, you
Well,
know?
and to that point, a lot of people thought the opposite because they're like, wait a minute, what's all this empty footage of the empty like
Yeah.
crash? A lot of people walked away with it thinking that none of it was real. Like, oh, they were dead the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's not. It's just footage,
Yeah.
It's like watching the end credits of the original Twister, It's just seeing the
Hmm.
storms in the distance, like, oh, I guess they didn't actually solve tornadoes. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Um, if you own the lost DVDs or Blu-rays, all the menus are like that. It's just silent, and then you'll see like the beach, and you'll just hear the water coming in or whatever, or the
Mm.
forest. I'm like, oh man, it's very atmospheric. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people thought that meant they were dead the whole time. I was like, no, Christian Shepherd literally explained it.
Yeah.
Everyone dies at some point. Some people it was on the island, some people it was off the island, but they
Yeah.
all died and they ended up here, you know,
Yeah.
purgatory. Uh, because then there would have been no point. Like, so what? Like they all die in the crash, and then so all the island stuff is like Purgatory 1,
Yeah.
and then the Flash Sideways is Purgatory 2. It's like, no, none of that
Yeah.
matters. No, no, no. It's just
Yeah.
footage, guys.
It's
But
like it's like you're trying to get to an explanation, and
yeah.
it's kind of like, confirmation bias, it's like you already have the idea in your head and you're like, "Oh, well then that confirms it. They've been dead the whole time." It's
Yeah,
like,
someone
"No."
literally explained it five
Yeah.
minutes ago. It's like no.
Yeah. It's
So
like just yeah. So I guess, I know we're kind of decrying like media literacy as dead right now, but I feel like media
yeah.
literacy has been dead for a long time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So
it's because of stupid people.
yeah. So yeah, listeners, thank you for joining us. Not for
Yeah.
just this episode, but for the past 4.5 years.
Yes.
We're not going anywhere though. Next week we will be back where we will be celebrating our 201st episode. Because this was our 200th. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what we're doing. We're gonna have fun though. However, like I said, this was part one. Part two is
Hmm.
in 2 weeks. Where we're gonna come back and actually give more of an epilogue to Lost as a whole. This was
Hmm.
very much about the last episode. We're gonna talk about the series as a whole. We're going to watch. I guess it's a short film called The New Man in Charge, which was a little short they made just for the home release of Lost. Never seen it. I don't know what it's about. I'm guessing it's
Hmm.
about Hurley because he's the new
Okay.
man in charge.
That makes sense.
But it's in the official Lost epilogue. And for some reason, I never watched it, even though I owned the DVDs. Uh,
Mm.
I think secretly I was waiting for this podcast. So we're gonna watch that, The New Man in Charge. I think we're also, I don't know if we'll talk about it, but we should watch the Jimmy Kimmel special, Aloha to Lost. It's literally what aired as soon as the episode ended, and it was
Oh, wow.
live, and they had the cast come out. So I don't, I remember really enjoying it. I
Yeah.
don't remember what it is. I do know it's online though, so we're gonna talk, find that, maybe talk about it.
Okay.
But also, I think we're gonna talk more about the whole series as a whole,
Okay.
kind of each season, maybe even rank the seasons. Who
Hmm.
knows?
That's
Uh,
true. We usually do that for the finales, so
yeah,
I think it fits. We'll do that for a part two finale.
yeah, we're gonna rank the seasons. And then also, I have literally the other day, the Lost Reddit dropped a template of favorites and least favorites of Lost. So, and it's
Ooh.
only like 6 topics, but
Oh, okay.
so I'm gonna bring that. So start thinking about your favorite Lost moments and least favorite, because we're gonna
Mm.
dissect it. So
Okay, okay.
that's not next week. That's in 2 weeks. Like and subscribe so you make sure you don't miss it. It's gonna be fun, and
Yeah.
that'll be our final Lost episode
Hmm.
until they reboot the show,
Yeah.
or until
Yeah.
we end the podcast by rewatching Lost again, but with our kids.
Yeah.
And who knows how many years from now that'll be? Decades.
Episode or season 2000.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us. Until next time, you can always find us on social media. I'm on Instagram and Threads at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, and on BluSky at Matthew Jimenez.
And you can find me on Instagram, BluSky, and Threads at Real, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
Until next time, get
Get
lost.
lost.